All right, welcome to the Marriage Boss Podcast. I'm totally pumped today because I've got a longtime Facebook friend and a fellow coach and transformational healer. And Camden Hoch is an author, speaker, life coach, yogini, wife, and mom. Through deeply personal transformational work, she empowers her clients to let go of sabotaging beliefs, lead with their intuition, and enjoy a fulfilling life journey of adventure, prosperity, and service. Her clients discover a spiritual inner alignment of who they are with what they create in the world in every aspect of their lives. This is what Camden calls Radiance Living. Her coaching style encourages connection through honest and rich relationships with yourself and with others. She has mentored and empowered hundreds of clients in discovering resources that brighten, lighten, and ignite the soul to accelerate transformation in their lives. Camden's reputation as a speaker is built upon her unique ability to tackle difficult and taboo topics with thoughtfulness, warmth, candor, and passion. Her thought leadership and transformation, combined with her own metamorphosis, makes her an inspiring, powerful force for good in the world. Her first book, which we're totally pumped about, Roadmap to Radiance, is her story that took her from dark to light, from living in reckless extremes and suicide attempts to a life full of love, purpose, prosperity, and service of others. Her vulnerable share will nudge you to fully live life from your soul and not let anything hold you back anymore. It will take you on a journey of letting go, standing in truth, and connect you to your own evolution and metamorphosis. Camden, welcome to the Marriage Boss Podcast.
Thank you, Rick. I'm so excited to be here. Thanks so much for inviting me.
Well, I'm excited too, and as you know, we talked a little before the show, and I got a chance to meet Luke, your awesome husband, and of course we get to see our lives play out on social media. And ever since I've been following you, I've just enjoyed, as someone who is a big fan of marriage and nourishment and co-creation, I've just enjoyed watching the two of you, do your thing together and raise your family. And I'm just so excited to have your energy and your passion on the show today.
Thank you. Isn't it fun that we can get to know people online and, through all these social outlets and really form amazing friendships? And I love that we have met that way and we get to share in each other's lives that way too.
Yeah, it's been amazing, and I loved your story. As soon as I started to learn more and kind of reach out to you personally, we did share each other's stories a little bit and kind of find out how to support each other first. And then now as this evolution occurs, and I remember you talking to me about wanting to write a book, and I was so excited, and I kind of pushed you and kind of followed and asked to see, manuscripts and edits and stuff like that. And so now seeing first your website is just beautiful. So people head over to camdenhoch.com, and we will put the spelling and the link in the show notes. You got to check out Cam's website. It's just beautiful, stunning video, photography. You pour your heart out in it, and I don't see how anyone couldn't want to learn more and follow the roadmap to radiance. So tell us a little bit about how this whole thing started. You can give us a short version, but tell us how you decided to get into this work and what the book meant to this journey.
So I think that it started when I was young, and I think we can all look back to what made us different, right? Mm-hmm. What made us stand out, what made us maybe think we were weird or not part of the crowd. Yep. I think that's where it started for me, is that when I was younger, I grew up in an alcoholic home. My mom drank, and I didn't want anybody to know my secret. Mm-hmm. And so I started stuffing things down. Yeah. And that really made me feel like I had low self-esteem, low confidence, and it really affected how I grew up and interacted with people. I kind of turned into a wild child. I had a lot of voices that really spoke to me, and I went through some really abusive, traumatic times in my younger years with men, and that really affected as I got older. It was hard to even have a relationship. As the marriage boss, what it takes to have a relationship, that we come there being able to communicate, get to resolution, come to solutions, talk, and things like that. And I wasn't able to do that. I was living in fear. I was living in trying to control my environment, and I was living with this sort of fortress around me. And it really changed. I'll just fast forward a little bit. When I met my husband, Luke, I'd already gone through a divorce. I had done a lot of healing work on my own. But when I met Luke, there was something there. And he was this grounding force. Yet at the same time, I didn't want to say, I'm changing my life for a man again, because I didn't want to go in that pattern. So what I did was I thought, all right, I'm going to actually move to California where he lives. But it's not just for him, it's for me.
Yeah.
I'm doing something for me. And if it doesn't work out, I'm okay, because I've taken a new adventure in my life to make my life better, to grow me. Even though I'm a little afraid, and even though I might get hurt, I'll actually be okay. And that was a big turning point for me. We did end up getting married 2 years after I moved here. We had children. And when the children coming, that was another big catalyst for change for me. It was like, I don't want to repeat the same patterns that have been in my life. So that really put me into a place of saying I wanted to do things differently. And that's been, the girls are 13 and 14 now.
Wow.
And it has been an evolution. And there's much of this that is included in the book, because as a coach, as a speaker, my life as transformation is my experience. And I think it's what's led me to my gift inside, which is being that listener for people, being that person who can help guide them and help them reimagine their life in a different way than they've been living, and connect to what's really important to them and nourishes them.
It's beautiful, and I know that when you meet a person who can be that foundation for you and just give you that little bit of stability just so you can grab onto something and then kind of run with it, certainly it's beautiful, and it happened in my life when I met Carol. I always say to people, I made one good decision in my life. I asked her out, and then after that, everything was simple, and that was almost 30 years ago. So, I married up. I made a good decision, and I got a great woman, and I got a great relationship and foundation out of it. So I can totally relate to what happened when you and Luke met. And then, of course, yes, again, when the girls came, I have 2 sons. They're going to be 22 and 16, so similar kind of thing. I said, well, I got to be responsible for these boys. I got to show them a good example. I know that fuels me a lot every day, certainly in the marriage space. They both have girlfriends, so I know that young people today need examples.
Yes.
I kind of knew what I didn't want, because my parents had a horrible marriage, fighting a lot, and that's what I saw every day. So I really thought relationships were supposed to be difficult. And then as I kind of grew up a bit and saw that, certainly in my wife's family, everybody was happy. They were all, sitting around a campfire, having a beer or a soda and eating a hot dog and having fun. And I just saw a different model. So we certainly can not only learn from other people, but set our own examples. So I want to ask you a question now about those who know you know how much you love yoga. And so what part did yoga play? And were you practicing when you had some very stressful times in your life too, or did you discover it as you were making this transformation?
Well, it was interesting. It all kind of happened when I did move to California. I moved to California at the end of 1997. Okay. And I was, at that point, a personal trainer and group fitness instructor, and that's what I was doing when I came out here. And there was a lot of yoga, obviously, out here, not so much where I was in the South, growing up, and Virginia, even in horse country. But when I moved out here, I was like, oh, of course, I'm going to go take yoga. And I remember my first class was actually a Bikram class, which is the heated room and things like that. It was tough. It was tough, and I was very athletic. I was used to being on fast forward. I mean, maybe people listening can relate to this. How many of you, kind of stay on fast forward in your life to not look at things that that you really need to look at if you want to grow? That was me. So I was on fast forward a lot. And when I started taking yoga, it allowed me to slow down, but it was hard. I was like, oh, I don't know if I like this. Can I even do this? But I kept taking classes because I knew it was good for my body, right? That's the first thing that sort of brought me in, was the physical part of the practice. And it was really helpful in helping me stretch. But then when I got pregnant, after Luke and I got married and stuff, and I was pregnant for 2 years in a row, the girls are close, I started in prenatal yoga. And that really slowed me down, and I was hearing things. I was listening more deeply. And it became more of a spiritual practice where I could really look inside and think, wow, is that choice serving me? Is it the type of mom I want to be? Is it the type of wife I want to be? Is this going to take me where I want to go in my career as an entrepreneur and developing, my practice, my life? So that's what yoga did, was it took me inside and it helped me to listen more so that I could then be more conscious in the choices that I was making moving forward.
So it seems, and we both have a lot of friends in the yoga community. It seems as though the grounding and the ability to even get in touch with both one's physical presence and then one's spiritual presence is a big advantage. And I feel like we have the answers. We're taking a test and we already have the answers when we engage in that kind of activity. So tell us how this led to. I know you've been thinking about the book for a long time. Tell us how the book evolved and what the roadmap means to you, and I want to kind of reveal your philosophy now and tell us how you help other people find this same kind of peace and radiance.
Well, it's been an interesting journey. As we all know, it is a journey, and I think I was born an observer. I love to look at things and observe why we do things and what makes us make a choice, what inspires us. Why are we stuck in patterns when it's right in front of us and we can make that choice, but we hold ourselves back? I think that was something that I was always engaged with, and yoga brought me deeper into it. And then, of course, having the girls, we took a 10-year journey after the girls were born. We moved from LA to St. Simon's Island, Georgia, to Boulder, and back to here.
Wow.
And on that journey, oh my gosh, my life was completely changed. When we went to Georgia, I had sworn since I was 18 that I would never move back there again. We went back, and I thought, okay, well, I can do this. It'll be okay. My parents got divorced. I was sick for 5 years. I had Lyme disease, chronic fatigue, just lost all this weight. I had all this trauma that was coming up from experiences that I had that I was young that hadn't completely healed. And I ended up on my closet floor, sitting there saying, I'm ready to kill myself. And I had these 2 girls, and I had a family, and I thought, I can't do this anymore. I don't know what to do. I need a sign. And that's when I started actually working with a network marketing company. And I also in that first month, saw an advertisement for life coach. And it like jumped at me. Like, when you have things like that, you ask for something and it's there, and you've got to be listening because you never know the package that's going to come in, right?
Yeah.
And so that's when I decided to go and do that, and I did. And this is what I didn't know. When I went to the training, I thought I was going to learn all about how to coach people. But what happened was I went through the process too.
Wow.
I had some things to clear. I had some things to reckon with and to let go of and to come to terms with if I was going to move forward. I had to get real.
Yeah.
So that really inspired me, and I became a coach at that point. So fast forward a little bit, we moved to Boulder, and then we moved back here, and I thought, I have really a lot of valuable things to share with people. And actually my clients, Rick, were saying, you've got to write a book because your life has been the journey and the process that you take us on.
Yeah.
And what I discovered was it was this sense of radiance. Okay, the book is called Roadmap to Radiance. Each one of us is born with a true nature, and that's what I call radiance. And in this true nature is truth and joy and love and happiness. And I'm not talking about that Pollyanna stuff where we just ignore things, right? Like we have to deal with things as they come up. But at our true nature, think of a baby. That is who we are. And I believe that every part of our life, relationships, our business, our money and finances, our fun and social life, our health and self-care, are all an expression of who we are, which is that radiance. Now, how we decide to live it out and how we decide to express it in the world, that's our choice. And we get to look at, is it in alignment with this that's inside of me, that radiance, right? Because even though it's all the same in people, we also have this uniqueness that we are propelled and actually obligated to live into. So that's what I call my Radiance Living program, that I help people guide them into those spaces in their life so that they do feel in alignment and they have that sense of rhythm and grounding and service in what they do.
This is such a terrific process, and as I'm watching you explain it and I'm watching you light up about, the different facets of it, I can totally relate, because there's nothing more special than first finding your own true voice and your own light. And it sounds like you were the first client in your own coaching program.
Yeah,
and still are.
That's a good way to put it.
and then there's nothing better than helping someone else really just kind of take your hand, go up the first step, and then you bring them up to that step with you, and go up to the second one, bring them up to the second, and just it's such a beautiful example today to see and hear an evolution where there was some darkness, and I can totally relate to that. I think we all, certainly all of us in this, the healing professions and the life coaching, any kind of mentoring or support person usually has had their own moments that they can reflect back on. And I'm also thinking about culturally how much that must have, how living in Georgia must have been one culture, and then going to Boulder, kind of two dramatic changes.
I was ready for it. I was so ready, and we knew that we were ready to move. And it's not that I dislike Georgia. It's not that I'm saying it's a bad place. It just wasn't for us. It just wasn't for me, and we were ready. It had served its purpose. In your life, when you've either had a job or you live somewhere and you feel like it's time to move on.
Yeah.
And it was time, and I was glad to have that opportunity. I was still working with a network marketing company, and I was coaching and I was teaching yoga. I was kind of spread out. And when I got to Boulder, actually things began to change, and I got really zoned in on the coaching, and yoga became a part of my process, not necessarily what I did to make money, but coaching became the big focus, and speaking and sharing on a bigger platform. So I think we have to say yes when we're told that we're supposed to up level and expand and reach out to more, right?
Without a doubt. And, it's one of the hardest things is, even after we have said that yes, is really taking the action steps necessary to make it happen. I know, again, I talked about your website. I know how much, time you took to create the videos and to really put your heart and soul into the messaging. And, I'm going to make a suggestion now to anyone who's listening today to visit the website, to read the book, to kind of follow in your teachings, because you've been an inspiration to me, and I know that we tend to support each other when we find like-minded, like-hearted people. So if anyone out there listening today is in a dark place, having a challenge, whether it's either in a relationship or in your career or just your personal transformation, or you just feel like life is kind of dark, I would certainly reach out to Camden and ask the question. Jump on the Facebook feed, jump into any social media, check out the website. I know that just watching you in action every day and seeing your videos, it's just so uplifting, and it's a message of foundation. When you say roadmap, you're making a suggestion that there are points along the way where you can check in, and it doesn't have to be difficult.
There are detours, I mean, I've had some detours, and there are more direct routes and things like that. But when you look back, like whoever, just listen here, and just it's like, when you look back at your life, can you see, that map for yourself? And now where you are, where do you want to go? And then looking at, okay, here's the actions I need to take. I really need to look at, where are my money and finances right now? Or, hey, I really need to look at, is this really in alignment with me? Is fear holding me back, or am I really, moving forward from a place of love and taking action? It doesn't mean that you won't be afraid, because you might.
Yeah.
I certainly have been, and I've been in some dark places. And I can look back, Rick, and I can see, if I hadn't made the choices that I made, I can see where I would have gone. And I think that's what inspired me to write this book too, is that most people look at me and they think, oh my gosh, you're this perfect person, right? She's got it all together. 100%. And they put you on a pedestal. What I want to say is, no, I am just like you. I have been in dark places. I've been on a bathroom floor after a 3-day binge on cocaine. I have been lower than low. I've been broke. I feel like I've just been about in every dark place that you can imagine. And if I can make new choices and really get in touch here, you can too. All you have to do is ask for help and take that first step. That's what I had to do.
Yeah, and it's always a beautiful story when you hear the positive outcome, but so much of my messaging and the people that I talk to and work with and I really groove and dig on are people who say, you know what, I'm good with it when it's dark. I'm good with it, now that we know this, we're going to have ebbs and flows, we're going to have challenges. You got to welcome those too. Those things are going to be part of life, and they're going to be learning experiences. They're going to be things you can contrast your light with when it's darker. And so I think the next thing that I will point out is, since most of the people that are listening to this show have some kind of relationship, could be a marriage, could be a significant other, or want one, let's talk a little bit more about, because my big thing is for men, I always tell men, uncover, cultivate, and celebrate the gifts in your partner, significant other, wife, spouse. And I know that, I always say, lucky guy about Luke, because I know how awesome you are. Let's talk a little bit about how you can draw some inner strength from your partner when you have these situations, because a lot of our audience is going to be drifting further away from their partner at times of darkness, either because they don't want to talk about it. A lot of us men are ashamed. We don't want to say we're having a failure or breaking down in some way, so we'll hide it. And women I know do similar things, but talk about how our people can find strength in your partner.
Well, I tell you, Luke and I have been together almost 19 years now, and we have been through everything. If you want to say failures in bad investments, failures in just imploding within ourselves in old patterns. And I think what we recognized and made a pact with each other, actually, when we were starting to see some of these things that were drawing us apart, was number one, if we are to be out of town for business, we're never away longer than 10 days. That was our magic number. Because he works in the film business. He's a photographer as well. And he was away all the time when the girls were babies. And what happened in that industry, and I'm just going to say it, there are a lot of affairs. You're not at home much. And so he started to recognize that, and he came home one day after we were living in LA, and he said, Camden, I'm not going to do what I'm doing anymore. We need to move. And I was just like, what? We just got here. We've only been here a year. And he said, we won't stay married if I'm going to be in this business, and I miss you and the girls too much. So he stepped away from that career for 10 years.
Wow.
And he did it because he knew, he was committed. He thought, I just can't do this. And that was huge. When I recognized that he made that commitment, it made me feel even more loved. It made me feel stronger to commit even more to the marriage. And I felt like we were growing closer. And I think it's recognizing those things and asking, what is it do we want? What is our common goal in our marriage or goals? And how do we stay moving parallel as opposed to this way, which can easily happen. So I think there's things that you can talk about and set those goals for yourself. Like, okay, we won't be apart more than 10 days. We'll have dinner every night. I work with a couple actually together. They they're entrepreneurs. They have several different businesses, and they're quite busy, and they have 2 children. We work on intimacy exercises. And so it's making that connection time so that you know each other, that you support each other. A question you might ask is, I know that you have a lot going on in your business right now. How can I best support you? What stresses do you have that I might be able to alleviate? Right?
Yeah.
So communication, connection, understanding of what your dreams are and what you want together.
Beautiful. And I think that, if you really care about yourself, no less the other person, you will figure out what you need to do if you're serious about this relationship. And people, you hear it from me all day long. There is gold in them dar hills. and I say it to guys all the time, and guys don't get this. They really don't. This is not our default thought process to find gifts in our wives or women or whatever significant other. We really think that we're going to be the ones creating this thing, and I think that most of us, if we married someone, if we chose someone, we thought very highly of that person at one time. But something happens for some reason when we get in a committed relationship. Over time, we start to see that person as not knowing what they used to know, or not being as wise or as gifted. And I think it's just the opposite today. And certainly it would be great if the other person is doing some work on themselves too. But we really have to look in the mirror. It's really got to be about us first. Yeah. And I love what you did. I think that again, taking action steps, and we're going to ask everybody now to take an action step and visit your website. So it's Camden Hoch, CAMDENHOCH.com, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, and people, you're going to love this website. I mean, this is like top-notch photography, video, and I just love the message. And did you change anything since the book launch?
I don't think I've changed anything yet. Once the book launches on May 31st on Amazon, we'll be changing it so that people are taken to Amazon to order. But nothing has changed, and everything is just debuted. And you know what? I worked with an incredible agency in crafting this, and it was important to me for it to be beautiful, for it to connect, for it to be honest and real. And I agree with you. I would love people to watch the videos, and please share what you think, because they came from here. Yeah. And I just know that when people are in pain, or people have an important decision to make, or something going on, that you're not meant to do it alone. And there are people out there to help you, your spouse, your partner. And I have a coach. I have a couple of coaches actually. So, and I've got my husband. We talk, but it's not in the coach way. Yeah. So I say you got to pull in some resources so that whatever process feels right for you, you really head forward in your life for that, and it will enrich your marriage or your partnership. I guarantee you that.
Yeah, and the other thing that I love about you, and I will end with this, is that you have been so giving to everyone, certainly in the community, from what I can see, and I'm following you, and I'm being inspired by you and your message every day. So it's as simple as that. Really, just following someone like you will be so inspirational. You're delivering such great videos and posts, and just inspirational stuff all day long. So it can be as simple as just following Cam, all the way up to getting the book, getting involved in her programs, and I just appreciate having you in my world, supporting me and my message, and then of course being on the show today. So thank you so much, Camden, for coming.
Thank you so much, Rick, and I love what you're doing, and I just so appreciate you and our time together today. Thank you so much.
Okay, talk to you soon.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.